Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jackie Van Ham and my buddy Josh Trokiat here, bringing you all of the news going on out here in motorcycles and power sports. Welcome back to another great episode. For today's show, we have got several huge stories, so stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. And make sure you go ahead, hit that share button, share this video with all of your friends that love hearing about what's going on out here in motorcycling and power sports. My first story today, I had to talk about it because it is the 100th anniversary of Laconia. So that's going to be one of my stories for today. And my second story, we're going to be talking about another awesome bike coming from the folks at Honda. Josh, what you got going on in your neck of the woods?
Speaking of Honda, did you ever, like, for birthday or Christmas, that your cousin or sibling got the present that you wanted and you didn't get it? Well, they've done that, but they're going to undo that. And then the next thing, my second story, I'm just going to say flat tires suck, and maybe we have a cure way around it, but we'll talk about that.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear about that solution, but we're all going to have to wait because first we've got a word from our sponsor.
For all of your motorcycle ATV and UTV oil requirements, be sure to run Pengrade 1. The unique base oil cut utilized in the original green oil and the enhanced levels of anti-wear additives provide strong protection while reducing internal friction for increased horsepower output under the most demanding conditions. Pengrade 1 is proud to be made in the USA.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. So, as promised, for my very first story today, I had to talk about it because this is one of the largest, I think, Josh, right? Like, there's only a handful of rallies that are possibly or equally as like American motorcycling as Laconia, and it kicks off this coming week. Now, Laconia is celebrating its 100th year, and while it is a heck of a good time, I've had the good fortune to go. It is a heck of a good time, beautiful riding, incredible scenery. Lots of folks might not be aware of the incredible racing that goes on at Laconia. Laconia, much like Daytona, much like Sturgis, actually are founded, its roots are in motorcycle racing. Laconia has several incredible races going on during the week, including several, not one, but at least two different hill climb races, which are fantastic. There's charity rides every single day. I can't say enough about how beautiful this area is, and is a whole lot cooler than it is currently here in Kentucky. But that's what's going on. But the reason I want to talk about it also is that there is an incredibly exciting road race taking place this coming week for the 100th year, 100th rally at Laconia. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. So, as I said, Laconia is kicking off this coming week. It is from June 10th through the 18th. That's right, it is an entire week, of course, up in beautiful Laconia, New Hampshire. In a year of anniversaries, of course, Harley-Davidson has its 120th, BMW also celebrating its 100th, and then there is the 100th Loudon Classic race, which also takes place right near Laconia. It is one of the many, like I've already mentioned, races that happens every single year. Organizers have made sure that the 100th annual Loudon Classic on June 17th at New Hampshire Motor Speedway will be the biggest in the race's history. This year's Loudon Classic features a $250,000 purse, Josh, that is attracting many of Moto America's top stars, such as Josh Hayes, Josh Herron, Richie Escalante, Tig Hobbs, Jake Lewis, Brendan Pask, Tyler Scott, and Cody Wyman, to name a few. It undoubtedly will be the deepest field of riders to participate in the Loudon Classic since the race was last part of the AMA Superbike Championship way back in 2001. So this awesome event, again, is all week long. There's all sorts of charity rides going on. You name it, they've got it going on. There's a flyer right now on your screen for one of the cool hill climbs that's taking place. Again, this is June 10th through the 18th. This particular race is taking place the end weekend, as it were, over in Loudon. And that massive purse to the tune of $250,000 hairs. And the winner of this race is going to take home a cool $55,000. They're billing itself as the biggest purse in the history of racing in the United States. And that, I think, is pretty exciting. Josh, what do you think about this story?
I mean, that's definitely a motivating factor to get some good racers there. I mean, that's that big of a check will get people to show up. I would show up. I mean, but obviously,
Yeah.
when you listed some of the other names, I realized I did not have a shot at the $50,000 nor $50. On top of that, I've also seen that they have one of the top cop competitions there too. And if you've ever seen one of
Yes.
those are absolutely amazing, insane shows of skill at low speed
Yeah.
stuff, which to me is just as impressive as the high speed stuff. So yeah, tons going on there. Neat event.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to throw that in my notes for today's show. But there is, again, that cop skills competition. So it's all these like slow speed
Yeah.
maneuvers and cones. And I love that stuff. I'm a sucker for watching that kind of stuff. So I think this sounds like a heck of a good time. And that is coming up real, real soon. Josh, what you got going on for your first story?
So everyone else, for the most part, has it, and we don't yet. We're going to get two Honda stories in today. And this one is finally Honda has said yay to the US getting the Transalp XL750. This is the front view of it here. Now, we brought it back to you in November when this thing was shown off, and there's been a ton of speculation on it. Of course, any of us that are, I mean, interested in these like middleweight adventure bikes have watched all sort of reviews on these things, and we're all like, why does every single person reviewing these have an accent? Because they are all overseas. They haven't gotten here yet. There is just recently a filing with the California Air Resources Board that certifies that, yes, the Transalp will be legal for us for 2024. To give you a little bit of a rehash on the specs on this bike, it is a 755cc parallel twin. It is shared the same engine that is shared with the Hornet and others. On that, 90 horsepower, 55 foot-pounds of torque, which is great numbers, especially for that size engine. There's Showa suspension on this with 7.9 up front, 7.5 and a half travel in the rear. This is slotting into that kind of, I guess I would say, value proposition with this, as it is using tube type tires. There's 21 in the front, 18-inch in the rear. The big question with this now is the fact that, okay, this is aimed at stuff like the Tenere. It is less off-road oriented than the Tenere. It's also kind of the same way with the new Suzuki 800DE. On this, is it going to come in below that magic $11,000 price point that everyone seems to be trying to get in under? It's a big question with that. Now, with that being said, obviously inflation, I don't know if anyone's experienced that over the past year, but when this bike started, inflation was very different than what it is now. So I am going to be very interested to see if they get this in under that $11,000 limbo pole. I think there's hope, especially when you look at how it's priced in the UK and Australia. I think there is hope if you do some of that math, but I'm not 100% for sure. Do you think, Jackie, that they will successfully be able to do the $11,000 limbo?
I actually think that they will. Honda is such an incredibly brilliant, incredibly smart company, and they are not afraid of creating high value propositions. They make very, very reliable, very, very nice bikes for a really, really good price tag. There are a handful of things on this bike that, as you've already mentioned, do kind of bring it down a little bit more of like a value type model. It's not totally over the top. That all being said, I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts that there's going to be a more high zooted up, tons of accessories, more, over the top version of this bike coming perhaps later on down the road. I think this bike will be coming in under that $11,000 price range for sure. I think this is just a great bike, again, in a very, very crowded field of these adventure middleweight bikes. I think they know they have to hit that price tag, and they make such high volume machines, they can swing it. They can swing it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my vote in that it's going to be a yes. I love this bike. I had the chance to see it at EICMA in November when we broke that story here and then talked about it again later on down the road. That's how we do here over at On the Throttle. Breaking news every single week out here. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like and click all the things and all the stuff. We're always bringing you all the newest news out here. But yeah, Josh, I think it's a great looking bike. While you are talking Honda today's show, My next story also is talking Honda for today's show, but first, we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Hide Now.
The road can throw a lot at you, but you can depend on Heidenau Tires to see you through it. Quality, made in Germany. For more info, go to heidenautires.com.
And thanks again to Hide Now for jumping in for today's program. So my second story for today, we are going to continue with a little bit of a theme, talking Honda today. And I wanted to talk about this because a handful of weeks back, we also talked about Honda because they had several cool bikes that are definitely going to be coming to the market, including that ADV 160, which is that adventure scooter that I think is just very, very cool. There's an update to the Grom coming. Yep. What else? It was a handful of, the 500, of course. We talked about that, the Scrambler that's coming. We talked about some of the bigger, showier, in my mind, type stories, but I kind of glazed over the second half of their press release. And as I kind of looked at it in a little bit more depth, I realized I really did want to talk about it on today's show. And this is the fact that Honda is, of course, releasing another model, another version, a new 2024 version of the iconic, that's right, I said it, iconic Honda Shadow. The Honda Shadow, I think this is such an interesting bike, and I love the styling for 2024. I think this is just incredibly sharp looking. The Shadow has long been a staple for folks that want to get into the cruiser segment, but maybe don't want to drop, money to be in an American brand like Harley or possibly like Indian. They just want something that is a straightforward, super rock solid, reliable bike. And nothing says that to me like Honda. Honda nails this part of the market. They are super reliable. They build incredibly tough, bulletproof bikes. And I think this year, the styling of it really has been stepped up. So let's go ahead and jump into this story about the 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom and Shadow Aero that are going to be coming this year. Very few V-twin cruisers can measure up to the clean, understated style and rock solid, like I said, reliability of the Shadow Phantom for the 2024 model year. This cruiser icon takes it to the next level with updates to its quintessential bomber styling, along with improved performance. Two-tone gas tanks, lots of styling going on. The appearance is more timeless than its predecessors. I completely agree. In addition, an updated single seat provides comfort for long, relaxed rides, and a passenger seat and foot pegs are offered for those who want to bring a plus one along for the ride. There is a new ABS version that is available for a little bit more money, of course. It is built with Honda's unmatched durability, quality, and reliability, giving owners the peace of mind to enjoy the freedom that only a V-twin cruiser can provide. So I thought that this was really neat. Again, there's a couple different versions. Mostly they're just stylistically changing. But what I wanted to really talk about, there we go. This is the other one I want to talk about. I think that is just super tough looking, Josh. I think that is just a really good looking bike. Mm-hmm. But what really caught my eye is the fact that being out here in motorcycle land like you and I are, I'm sure you are asked all the time too, Josh, about what would make a good first bike, beginner bike, first cruiser bike. And I feel like this bike gets overlooked a little bit. I know I personally have a tendency to say Honda Rebel because I really enjoy that motorcycle also. But the style of this bike is so spot on for people that really want to lean into that cruiser / bobbery type vibe. But this is why this caught my eye, and this is why I stick to my guns on this, because the price of this bike starts at $8,399. That's right, I gotta adjust my glasses here. $8,399 for this bike, which I think that price tag is stunning to get into. First of all, for how reliable and how good looking this bike is, and then as we dive a little bit deeper into it and talk a little bit more about. Again, this is a 745 liquid cooled V-twin, so plenty of power. It's darn near a 750. I really like to take a minute and talk about the seat height of this bike. It is just over 25.6 inches, and the curb weight is only 543 pounds. Fuel capacity is at 3.9 gallons, and the miles per gallon is 56 miles per gallon. This is a slam dunk from the folks at Honda. So for folks out there that are kind of thinking about getting into the cruiser space and aren't totally like, have to have, Harley or Indian, I think this deserves a second look. And that's why I wanted to give it a second look on today's show. Josh, what do you got to say about the Honda Shadow?
I actually think it deserves a first look because when you think about this, I mean, when they mention the Honda reliability. These bikes are known as being as reliable as an anvil. On top of that, you've got shaft drive, you've got liquid cooling with this. I mean, literally you top off the coolant, you change the oil, and that's it. You don't have to do really anything else to this bike other than swing a leg over it and take it for a ride. To me, and the styling of it, the new paint scheme, everything like that, Honda has always lagged with stuff like that. And I think you are right. They finally said, you know what, we need to get something that's going to look pretty good. The shadow is always blended into the shadows, so to say. And this time I think they've got a bike that stands out, that looks really good. It's interesting that you mentioned the seat height and the weight of this bike. Because those were two things. It was funny. I mean, you know how I've got to compare everything to dirt stuff. This seat is 10 inches lower than the DRZ, which I also found interesting. This bike also weighs exactly 1 KTM 500 EXC-F heavier than a DRZ. It's 236 pounds more. Those numbers clicked in my head and I found them both interesting. But to me, I think, I mean, this is one. Honda has never had a strong cruiser presence, but they've always had the shadow. They nailed it for once, and I give them kudos for that.
Yeah, agreed. And just to bring it back to the cruiser segment, Josh, and not the dirt bike segment, 540 pounds for a cruiser is fantastic.
Yes.
That is a really, really good weight for that bike, for sure. So I'm here to give them a little bit of kudos, a little bit of love. I think, and of course, it's a nice low seat height, which Josh and I both appreciate. He's gonna pretend like he's not, but he's part of Team Littles too. Anyway, so that's what's going on for the folks at Honda. It was a very, very Honda middle part of today's show. Josh, what do you got going on for your second story?
It was. Getting back to, I mean, if you're out on any bike, it doesn't matter if it's a Honda, a Kawasaki, a Beta, whatever. Flats suck. We've all been there. I have been on the side of the road with my motorcycle propped up by a tree branch, spooning the tire off of the wheel, cursing all the way because I'm usually in full gear, and it's never a cool day. It's always a 90-degree day. But there is a company called Lucioli, I believe is the correct pronunciation of this, that does not think that you need to deal with as many flats. Now, what you see in this is that this tube has 2 rim locks on it, and the tube is 7 millimeters thick. So go out to your garage right now and take the computer with you so you can keep watching us. Go out to the garage right now and take out your 7 millimeter wrench and look at how thick that is. For an inner tube, I find that absolutely insane. And I kind of love the concept in the same thing. So one of the things that I noticed about this as I was digging around on their site as I saw these, it is recommended that you have a trained dealer mount them. I'm inserting the word wrestle with them because I believe that's what you're going to have to do. Part of this is you are going to have to drill your wheel for the rim locks. You want to obviously make sure you get those in the correct positions. Obviously, as I said, the rim locks are integrated into this. You can run these tubes down to 4 PSI, which is actually really cool. Look at how chunky that thing is. Look at that. I mean, that's thick, and that is spelled with 3 C's, not a K. That is definitely that. So to me, one of the things that I saw with this also is I was really curious is there are people online that have measured these at anywhere between 7 and 8.5 pounds, which is a heck of a lot of unsprung / rotating weight to add to your motorcycle. But there's the trade-offs of, am I solving that many flat problems with this? And for some people, yes, the ability to run it down to 4 PSI, that is a big thing, and they want that ability, so yes. The nice part about this is that the 7 or 8 pounds that it adds to your rotating mass there, it will pull out of your wallet, as these run $169.99 each. So you really don't want to get a flat with one of these. To me, this is one of those things. I found these. They're a newer product. They fit in this really cool niche. I wanted to bring it out to the attention of people to show that, hey, there is a lot of cool, unique technology showing up and stuff like this. I'm not sure I necessarily want that amount of unsprung rotating weight, but it's definitely a cool product. There's a niche market for it, and I mean, heck, put 50 pounds in it and float down the river. Just watch out for those rim locks. What are your thoughts there, Jack? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it?
I think it's super fascinating. The minute you brought this up, I was like, this is like the run flats on my car right now. They weigh a ton, but they give you peace of mind that if I do drive over a nail, heaven forbid something happens. I know I just jinxed myself right now live on the show. But if heaven forbid something happens, and I have pulled a nail out before, you're going to get to where you're going and you're going to be safe. Yeah. So that part is cool. But whoa, Nelly, do they weigh a ton. And they are thicker than me after a visit to Dairy Queen, y'all. Just so you know, 7mm is also approximately the thickness of your phone. It is just over 1/4 of an inch. So these are no joke. But still, I mean, triple C, thick triple C. That's Correct. That's all I know about that. But really interesting, really fascinating. I don't know. I could see a place for them. I could see why.
Worth talking about. If hard enduro stuff like that, I see the place for them. Probably, probably not for my bike, but I still think they're very cool.
Yeah, for folks that are doing heavy duty adventuring, I think that this is a very clever idea. It's, you're either going to put these on your bike or you're going to pack, an air compressor, tools, tires, which one are you? I mean, you're lugging around the same amount of weight in essence. And this, if you really need to, get to where you're going, pull it off, go float down the river, have a nice relaxing float, while you're out there, cool down a little bit.
Totally.
Just kidding. Totally game. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Another exciting show, bringing you all sorts of interesting things on today's program. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for clicking, liking, and sharing this video. Ride safe out there, everybody. We will see you next week.